I was sitting in my car outside a job interview I would just bombed. My third one that month, when I got a text from my mother. "Do not worry, sweetie. You are just not executive material. Some people are not meant to climb that high." And that is when it hit me. The missed deadlines, the forgotten messages, the constant reminders that I was too sensitive for corporate life. For 6 years, I thought I was failing on my own. Turns out, I had help. My mother was the kind of woman other people called supportive. She showed up to every graduation, every award ceremony, every promotion dinner. She would beam at me across the table and say things like, "I always knew you would do something with your life." Eventually, I would laugh it off. That was just Mom being Mom, right? "When I landed my first real marketing job at 24, she cried. Actual tears. "My baby's all grown up," she said, squeezing my hands. "Just promise me you will not let it change you. Success can make people so cold," I promised. I did not notice how she would started calling during my lunch breaks, just to check in. I did not think twice when she would casually mention that my boss seemed demanding after meeting her once at a company event. And when she started forwarding me articles about burnout and workplace stress, I thought she was being protective. She was my mother. She loved me. The idea that she might be working against me, absurd. But looking back, the signs were there from day one. I just could not see them because they came wrapped in a smile and a casserole dish. The first time something felt genuinely wrong was about 8 months into my new job. I would been working on a major campaign, my first solo project, and I was supposed to present to the senior team on Thursday. On Tuesday night, my mother called, "Honey, I am so worried about you. You sound exhausted. Are you sure you are ready for this presentation? You know how you get when you are tired. You start rambling, saying things that do not make sense." I laughed nervously. "I am fine. Mom, I have been preparing for weeks." "Of course you have. Sweetheart, I just do not want you to embarrass yourself. Remember your college debate. You were so confident," and then she trailed off. I did remember. I would frozen mid-sentence and had to be escorted off stage. "I would been 17. Just get some rest," she said sweetly. "And maybe have someone else look over your slide." Fresh eyes never hurt. I stayed up until 3 in the morning, second-guessing every bullet point. The presentation went fine. Not great, just fine. And my mother's response was a long sigh followed by, "Well, at least you got through it." That is what matters. By year 2, she would insert herself into my professional life in ways I could not quite articulate. She would started showing up at my apartment, unannounced the night before important meetings, bringing comfort food and staying until midnight to keep me company. She would ask detailed questions about my projects, my colleagues, my deadlines, and then she would offer feedback. "You know, honey, I was talking to my friend Barbara. Her daughter works in marketing too, and she said your company's approach seems a bit outdated. Are you sure you are learning the right skills there?" I would try to defend my work, my company, my choices, and somehow every conversation would spiral into something I could not follow. She would jump from my presentation skills to my childhood anxiety to her own sacrifices as a single mother, to how ungrateful my generation was, to how she only wanted what was best for me. By the end, I would be apologizing for something, though I was never quite sure what. "I just worry," she would say, dabbing her eyes. "You are so smart, but sometimes you do not see how you come across to people." I am the only one who will tell you the truth. The third year was when things started falling apart in ways I could not ignore. I would applied for a promotion, team lead, a position I would been working toward since I started. I told my mother about it over dinner. She put down her fork. "Oh, honey, are you sure that is wise? Management is so political. You have always been too honest for that kind of thing." "I think I can handle it, Mom." "Of course you can handle it. You can handle anything. That is not the point. The point is whether you should. Some people are doers, sweetheart. There is no shame in that. Not everyone is meant to lead. I got the promotion anyway. 3 weeks later, I missed a critical deadline because I never received an email from my director. It could not explain it, neither could I. My mother's response when I told her, "See, this is what I was afraid of. They are setting you up to fail. You should have stayed where you were comfortable." Over the next 2 years, I missed 2 more key emails. I showed up to meetings that had apparently been rescheduled, though no one could tell me when. I submitted a proposal that somehow contained an old draft instead of my final version. Every failure came with a phone call from my mother within hours. I heard what happened. Barbara's daughter mentioned it. Are you okay? Do you need me to come over? I never questioned how she always knew. I never questioned why my confidence had eroded to the point where I would stop applying for opportunities. I never questioned why every choice I made seemed to lead to criticism. Speak up in meetings, and I was too aggressive. Stay quiet, and I was not showing leadership. Push for the promotion, and I was overreaching. Accept my current role, and I was settling. I was trapped in a maze with no exit, and I could not see who was building the walls. Sound familiar? Let me break down exactly what was happening, because I could not see it for 6 years. The primary weapon in my mother's arsenal was something called negging. Insults disguised as compliments or concern. Every piece of advice she gave me was actually a carefully aimed blow to my self-esteem. You are so smart, but sometimes you do not see how you come across. You can handle anything. That is not the point. At least you got through it. These are not compliments. They are poison pills wrapped in sugar. The pattern works because it keeps you off balance. You cannot quite call it an insult. She said I was smart. She said I could handle things. But you walk away feeling smaller. And because you cannot identify the attack, you cannot defend against it. You just try harder to earn a compliment that never comes. The red flag, if you consistently feel worse about yourself after receiving support from someone that is not support. That is sabotage. Then there was the word salad. Those circular, exhausting conversations that left me apologizing without knowing why. My mother was a master at this. She would start with my presentation, pivot to my childhood, swing through her sacrifices, land on generational ingratitude, and somehow end with me comforting her. By the time the conversation ended, I could not remember what we would been discussing or what I would agreed to. This tactic works by overwhelming your logical brain. When someone bombards you with contradictions, topic changes, and emotional appeals, you stop trying to make sense of it. You just want the confusion to stop, so you give in. You apologize. You agree to whatever makes the noise end. The red flag, if you leave conversations feeling mentally exhausted and unable to summarize what was actually discussed, you are being deliberately confused. The double bind was perhaps the cruelest tool. My mother created situations where every choice led to criticism, apply for the promotion. I was overreaching, setting myself up for failure. Stay in my current role. I was settling, wasting my potential. Speak up in meetings. Too aggressive. Stay quiet, not showing leadership. This tactic is devastating because it makes you feel fundamentally broken. It is not about what you do. It is about who you are. No matter what you choose, you are wrong. So you stop choosing. You freeze. You wait for someone else to tell you what to do. And that someone is usually the person who trapped you in the first place. The red flag, if every decision you make is met with criticism, including the opposite decision, you are not dealing with high standards, you are dealing with control. Finally, there was DARVO, deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. The few times I tried to address my mother's behavior, this is what I got. I never said that. You are remembering it wrong, denial. After everything I have done for you, this is how you treat me. Attack. I am just a mother who loves her daughter too much. I guess that is my crime. Victim reversal. Every confrontation ended with me apologizing for hurting her. Every single one, the red flag. If your attempts to address someone's behavior always end with you comforting them and apologizing, you are not having a conversation. You are being managed. I did not confront my mother. I know that is not the satisfying ending people want, but it is the honest one. After that day in my car, after I finally connected the dots between her support and my spiraling career, I realized something crucial. She would never admit it, not because she was protecting herself, but because I genuinely believe she did not see it. In her mind, she was helping. She was protecting me from disappointment by lowering my expectations. She was keeping me close by making sure I never flew too high. Confrontation would have given her exactly what she wanted, another opportunity to flip the script, to become the victim, to pull me back into the fog. So I chose something harder. I chose silence. I started with small boundaries. I stopped answering calls during work hours. I stopped sharing details about my projects, my applications, my ambitions. When she asked about work, I gave one-word answers. Fine. Busy. Same as always. She noticed. The concerned text started. You seem distant. Did I do something wrong? Then the guilt trips. I just miss my daughter. Is that so terrible? Then the health scares. sudden appointments, vague symptoms, emergencies that required my immediate presence. I showed up for the first two. By the third, I recognized the pattern. I sent flowers instead. It took 18 months to fully disentangle myself. I moved to a new city for a job I did not tell her about until after I would sign the lease. I changed my phone number. I set up an email filter that redirected her messages to a folder I checked once a month. I did not block her entirely. That felt too final, too dramatic. But I removed her ability to access my daily life. The cost. I lost my extended family. My mother painted me as the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her aging mother for a career. Aunts stopped calling. Cousins unfriended me on social media. Last Christmas, I received a card from my grandmother with a single line, "Family forgives." I have not responded. Some days I still hear her voice in my head. Are you sure you are ready for this? You know how you get. Some people are not meant to climb that high. The programming does not disappear just because you identify it. But now, when I hear those whispers, I recognize them, and recognition is the first step to freedom. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to hear something clearly. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. You are not imagining it. Here are 3 red flags that should never be ignored. First, consistent confusion after conversation. If you regularly leave interactions with someone feeling mentally exhausted, unable to remember what was agreed upon, or unsure how you ended up apologizing, that is not normal miscommunication. That is manipulation. Trust your confusion. It is telling you something. Second, compliments that leave you feeling worse. Real support builds you up. If someone's encouragement consistently makes you doubt yourself, question your abilities or lower your ambitions. Examine that pattern. Love does not shrink you. Third, every choice leads to criticism. If you are trapped in a cycle where every decision you make is wrong, including the opposite decision, you are not dealing with someone who has high standards. You are dealing with someone who needs you to fail. Now, 3 steps to protect yourself. 1, start documenting. Keep a journal of conversations, especially the ones that leave you feeling confused or diminished. Write down what was said as soon as possible. When you see the patterns on paper, they become impossible to deny. 2, test the boundaries. Start small. Decline 1 invitation. Do not share 1 piece of information. See what happens. A healthy relationship can handle boundaries. A manipulative one will punish you for having them. Pay attention to which response you get. 3, build external support. Talk to someone outside the relationship. A therapist, a trusted friend, a support group. Manipulation thrives in isolation. The more perspectives you have, the harder it is for one person to define your reality. If you recognized yourself in this story, here is what I want you to do right now. Not tomorrow. Not when things get worse. Now write down 3 things you have accomplished that you are genuinely proud of. Things you did, not things someone else allowed you to do or gave you permission for. Look at that list. That is who you are, not the diminished version someone else needs you to be. And if you are in too deep to see your own accomplishments clearly, that is okay. That is what the fog does. But the fact that you are here, listening to this, recognizing these patterns, that is the beginning. You are already climbing out. You just cannot see how far you have come yet. But you will. I promise you will.